and gentlemen, please welcome your Iron Viz hosts, Louis Archer and Jewel Laurie.
Event in the world of competitive vizzing.
This is Iron Viz.
I'm Jewel Laurie.
And I'm Louis Archer.
Months of fierce competition between the best and brightest Tableau minds have led to this, the ultimate showdown of Viz prowess.
Our 3 feeder competitions have chosen the contestants who'll be joining us on the stage here today. In the next hour, you will see a vicious battle for dominance, eternal glory, and $2,000 to spend on the finest English breakfast tea that money can buy.
The time has come to answer the question on everyone's minds. Whose Viz will reign supreme?
Jewel, let's meet our noble contenders.
First up, he's principal consultant at Technion Data Solutions. It's Joshua Milligan. He's been using Tableau for 7 years and prepping for Iron Viz by following a strict diet, limiting his intake of pies and donuts. His road to Vegas began with a geospatial viz contest, for which he made this beautiful, long-form scrolling viz of the changing shape of history.
Now, every contestant has a Sue Vizzer, a cheeky little sidekick who's there for moral support, advice, brow mopping, and Jewel, correct me if I get this wrong, I think I'm pronouncing it right, trash talking.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
Today, Joshua will be assisted by David Freifeld from Tableau's DC office.
What are we doing?
Both David and Joshua specialize in creating vizes that are beautiful and functional on mobile devices. But can they translate that prowess to the giant screen of the Iron Viz competition?
Our second contestant, all the way from France, a data consultant at Actinvision, Tristan Goulevin. With only 2 years of Tableau experience, this rookie came out of the gate strong, grabbing a spot on this stage via the Iron Viz on Safari contest. While his design skills are obviously at the top of the food chain, he really captivated our judges with his innovative, interactive storytelling by turning this dashboard into a scavenger hunt through the data.
And assisting Tristan is Jade Levan, all the way from Paris. And that's the Paris with the real Eiffel Tower, not the one just down the road. Jade is famous in the Tableau world for giving trainings in 4 different languages. In English, Tableau. In French, Le Tableau. In Spanish, El Tableau. And in Mandarin, Jega Tableau. Can she help Tristan translate 20 minutes of tireless vizzing into victory today?
Let's find out. Our final contestant joins us from Decisive Data, where he's a senior visual analytics consultant. It's Jacob Olsufka. Jacob loves small multiples, sports data, and the smell of fear emanating from his opponents. He clinched a spot in this competition through his masterful exploration of the Force in this Star Wars viz he created for the Silver Screen competition.
And joining Jacob is KJ Kim, all the way from Singapore. KJ's favorite viz type is the lollipop chart. An audience, who doesn't love a lollipop? It's a fact so well known that her team made her a lollipop-themed birthday cake. Today, she'll be hoping to help Jacob give their opponents a jolly good licking.
So there they are, 3 determined contestants, 3 supportive Tableau Suvizers, 20 minutes.
And one absolute whopper of a data set.
So our contestants are going to have 20 minutes to create the best viz they can. They'll be judged by our esteemed panel on 3 criteria, all worth 30 points. Best practices, design, and strength of story. An additional 10 points will come from tweets, but more on that later.
Now, speaking of our esteemed panel, let's introduce the judges. First up, it's Elisa, she won't back down Fink, Tableau's Chief Marketing Officer. She's joined by Jock Xerox Park McKinley, our Vice President of Research and stickler for Viz Best Practice. Also on the panel is Ellie, the godmother of Tableau Public Fields. And rounding off the panel is Curtis, the 2016 Iron Viz champ, Harris.
Up to 90 points can be awarded to each contestant from our committee of Viz connoisseurs. But the last 10 points are decided by you in the audience.
Use these hashtags on Twitter to support the contestant who you believe should be our champion. Scores have been close enough in previous years to have your tweets decide the winner, so please vote wisely. You have 1 vote per person, and we will only count the first vote. So if you vote twice, doesn't matter. First one is the one that counts. Please remember to vote and choose wisely.
So if you think that Joshua Milligan is the most veritable Vizzer out there, tweet hashtag MillyVizilly.
If you think Tristan Guillevin has given it his all, tweet Guilleviz.
And if you think that Jacob Alsufka makes the greatest Vizzes under the sun, or more aptly, the moon, tweet hashtag Team Jacob Viz.
So, Jewel, what is the secret ingredient? What's the data set that our contestants have spent the last 7 days eating, breathing, and dreaming about in order to cook up the perfect viz?
Well, Louis, I'm very excited to announce battle housing data. This data set is 150 million rows of home price data graciously provided by Zillow.
How fabulous, Jewel. How the devil are our contestants going to make sense of that data set? I am excited to see a marvelous demonstration of Viztacular fortitude today.
I'm not sure what Viztacular fortitude is, but I bet you're right. Well, folks, they've got the brains, they've got the skills, now they've got the data. Anything can happen here today. So let's not waste any more time. All right, contestants, mice at the ready. All right, everyone say it with me. 3, 2, 1.
Allez, Viz!
And they're off. All right.
So, as our contestants are getting up and running and getting started, let's spend a moment or two with our judges and find out a little bit more on what they're looking to see this afternoon. Elisa.
Hello, Louie. How are you?
I am very well today, and how are you doing?
I am fabulous, and I just want you all to know that we are in good hands with Louie. Louie is a member of our marketing department, and we have our own Iron Viz competition at Tableau, department against department. We are the smallest department, but Louie took home the championship for marketing! Take that, sales. And Dev.
I mean, I don't like to brag, but it's true.
It is
Now, Elisa, the Tableau conference is about people getting together and telling magnificent stories with data. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you're looking for in terms of storytelling from our contestants here today.
Well, since it's housing data, number one, I want to make sure I didn't get screwed when I bought my house. So that's number one. But the stories are what I love. I love to see, to grasp it quickly, to see the truth, to be able to then interact with it and make it my own. So I'm looking for some great storytelling, really fluid storytelling, and then of course, a great story should be a beautiful thing. So I'm also, my eyes got open for beauty. So the storytelling, the interactivity, and the beauty are what I'm definitely excited about.
Fabulous, thank you. Elisa, everybody.
So Jock, you're always a stickler for visual best practices. How can our contestants really impress you today?
So for me, it's actually best practices is part of supporting both the aesthetics and the storytelling. If you can't understand the data that's there, then the story just goes away. And so it is actually part of it. It's not, but it doesn't supersede the other two. And so I always judge on all three of them and trying to balance them against each other.
Is there anything you're looking for in particular today from our contestants?
Well, in particular, color. Color is a very aesthetically powerful thing. I really love the improved colors in version 10.
There's a pretty cool color palette.
Yeah, there's a pretty good color palette. Shout out to the designers of that. You also use it to encode data. So color is always a big part of the judging at Iron Viz.
Wonderful, thank you, Jock.
Yeah.
Now, Ellie, we know there is nothing more that you like than a well put together ensemble that pleases the eye.
It is true.
But we're not talking about our outfits here today, Ellie. We're talking about design. What are you looking for from our dashboards, and what sort of design elements are you excited to see from our contestants today?
Well, Louis, I'm kind of a back-to-basics person when it comes to Viz. I love a beautiful Viz, but at the heart, it has to answer an analytical question, and that's what we're usually trying to do with data. So I like to see strong analytics, simplicity, but also the ability to really relate to the Viz and understand it at the top level when you come in, all the way down to all the depth of the data.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ellie.
Curtis, our reigning champion, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Jewel?
Good. Is it more fun sitting on this side than that side?
My heart's beating. I'm stressed out just like them.
So what are they feeling right now? You've been through this.
They're kind of lost right now. I don't think they can even hear me. They've got their steps laid out and they're ready to go. They're doing great.
And is there anything that really would impress you today that you're looking for in our contestants?
I'm with Ellie. I really like simplicity, something I can easily understand quickly, and I don't need to interact with it much to know what's going on.
Thank you. Thank you, Curtis.
And at least 2 cows.
2 cows. All right. You hear that, guys? So thank you, Curtis. Enjoy your final moments as the reigning Iron Viz champion. I think we have another former Iron Viz contestant here in the audience, Mr. Ben Jones, and it looks like he has a friend. Who you got over there, Ben?
Yeah, that's right. Hey, hi everyone. This is Ben. I'm real excited to be here today to interview real quickly here on camera Chris Toomey, who's a senior data engineer with Zillow in Seattle. So hey, Chris, talk to us a little bit about why everyone here in the audience, as well as all the folks that are watching online, should be particularly interested in this data set and what we see the contestants duking it out as they battle it out today on stage.
Well, this is the most detailed and most accurate picture of the housing market available right now, both past and present. So I think this will give somebody insight into actually what's going on out there in the world.
Awesome. So this is really where we get the real deal and the picture about what's happening. I love that. I mean, accuracy of the data is so important. Second question for you, Chris. So as we look at this data set, what is it about it that gives our contestants such an interesting challenge today as they put their skills to the test on stage?
Well, first off, it's massive. It is 150 million records. It's got lots of detail, lots of metrics across time, across geography, things that don't quite always add up. So I think there's a lot of really great stories to tell. And I don't know about you, but I'd like to see them on screen. How about, yeah? All right.
Awesome. All right. Thanks a lot, Chris. Jewel, Louis, back to you two.
Thank you. Thanks, Ben. So they've had some time to go. Let's check in with our contestants here. So David, you're the Sue Vizer over here. How has it been going? What have you been working on?
So in preparing for our visualization, I believe it just appeared here on the top left. What's amazing to me is that Josh just picked up Tableau last week. And so the ability to kind of is so intuitive to him. Look at the way he flows around the desktop so easily after only 4 days in the product. But all jokes aside, Josh has tons of experience. He's been working with Tableau for years and preparing for this particular competition. It's about rinse and repeat. It's about finding one story within hundreds of potential stories. And I have total confidence in Josh as he builds this.
Great, thank you.
Let's hear it for Josh.
Alors, Jade, on peut faire des questions en français si vous voulez, mais je pense que c'est probablement trop difficile pour vous, l'audience.
Yeah, Louis, your French is great, but I think we should stick to English.
She's probably right. So, that said, you have had the added difficulty of essentially having to translate a data set. Your English is not your first language. How has that been a challenge for you and for Tristan in what he's creating here today?
So the first challenge for Tristan was that his Tableau desktop was in French, so when he would try to create a map, he would have this weird error message, which would make him lose precious seconds to make Tableau understand that he's looking at the US. And then he was also not very familiar with the US geography, so he wasn't aware that you have so many cities that have the same name. He discovered that there are Franklin cities in 27 states, and on top of the Eiffel Tower you have down the road, you have 3 cities at least that are named after Paris. So that was an interesting discovery.
And have you had any other difficulties with this data set? What with the differences there, or is it big, is it small? What's the story on that one?
It's huge. It's 150 million rows data set. And it's about something that Tristan is not very familiar with. He's 25 years old. He's not planning to buy a house, and not in the US for sure. So he really had to dig into the data with a very analytical mind, because he didn't really have a natural entry point to the data that he could relate with.
Well, audience, I don't know about you, but he's got all of that to look forward to in the future. Thank you so much, Jade, Tristan. Bonne chance.
KJ, how's it going?
I'm okay.
How's our champion doing over here?
I think we're right on time. We're good.
So how did you two prepare?
So as many of you guys know, if you've seen Jacob's work before, very simple, lots of story, right? So when we first got this data set, we were looking through that millions and millions of rows of data, and we knew there was a lot of stories to tell. But as we dug deeper, we found one powerful story that we're going to be sharing today. And so just wait, I'd say 10 more minutes, and you'll see what unfolds.
And I can already see that Jacob is already in total Jacob mode, doing some small multiples over here. Can we hear it for small multiples? Woo. So we're almost about halfway through, and you can see already our visitors have done so much work. We've got line charts, we've got shape files going on, there's histograms. Wow, Louis, is there anything up here that you're just seeing? And oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm just quite happy standing next to Jade in her beret. It's fun to be amongst our European brethren, at least for a little bit longer. The Brits in the audience will understand that one. Anyway, what we're seeing here is some lovely, lovely roller coaster type charts. I'm not sure if we're coining that today, or maybe it's just to do with the shape of the data. But I really think that's quite a nice touch in terms of bringing out the visual and kind of using that name to really express what's going on with that data. So I'm quite excited to see where this one's going. And again, best of luck to the French.
David, I can see that Joshua has made a hex map here. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what that is and how it's made?
Absolutely. So what Josh has done is he brought in a separate data set that contains hexagon plotting information for all of the states in the US. So what that allows the viewer to do is pretty much be able to differentiate between much smaller states in the New England area and see each state as an equal and compare the colors much more intuitively. So you'll notice that as we blow it up, it will appear a little less cluttered than it currently is, and that's kind of the pizzazz, Las Vegas impact we're hoping for as we build. But it's a very, very impactful way, and if you ever search Tableau Public, you'll see it as a very common Viz option.
Yeah, that's so great. The hex maps are so hot right now. Yeah.
They're so hot right now.
So hot right now.
So hot right now.
Now, judges, let's come back to you for a quick look and quick chat about how you're feeling about what you're seeing on the screens in front of you today. Let's start left to right. Curtis, I'm going to come to you first. What are you thinking here?
Well, I'm waiting to see what Jacob does with that white space on the histogram. He's got a lot of extra room there, so I think he's saving something for interactivity. I've also seen the pages shelf being thrown out a couple times, so it looks like we're going to see some animation. So excited to see how that shapes up.
Very exciting.
Ellie, thoughts?
Yeah, I'm liking a lot of what I'm seeing. I think that there's some good analysis going on. You can even see where some of these visitors are going without even being able to read the text at this level, which is good because it means that the data is telling the story.
Jock?
Yes, so one of the things that is a good thing to do is to, when you're comparing data values against each other, is to make them commensurate. So like, for example, on Jacob, he's using percentages. That allows, percentages is a calculation that allows you to compare values on the different part. And of course, we just heard about bringing in additional data so that you can compare values between states. So that's a really good aspect to actually make the data comparable among each other.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jog. And Elisa, how are you finding these three as they're shaping up so far?
Pretty colors. No, they look great, and I'm already seeing. I'm going to learn different things and see different stories. So I just think that it's exciting, and I love the creativity. I love the different viz types. I love the use of color, and I just love. I'm seeing really strong themes come out of here, and it's telling me that you could glance at these and learn something and find something and then be engaged and go deeper. So I'm really impressed.
So KJ, we saw Jacob gave up probably a good almost 3 minutes there processing that. What was that?
So we were trying to get the map on, and as you can see with the millions of rows of data, there's a lot of places to plot out. So, I mean, this was a place where if we had hyper, that would have been awesome. Hyper, right?
Well, it's a pretty bold, confident move by Jacob to give up 3 minutes of contesting time just to have that map load. It better be a damn good map, Jacob.
David, hex maps. We've heard about them before. They can be controversial and they work very nicely for America, but the rest of the world, not so much. What are you thinking here? Is that a complex thing? Where's it come from? Where did you have to go to get that information to build into this viz?
So, how about who here has used a hex map? Who here has never seen a hex map? So, as I mentioned to Jules, it's so hot right now. It's one of the best visualizations you can use for mapping because it's not always a map that's the answer, but rather an equal lay of the land in comparing the states. So I don't know the equivalent when it comes to Europe or APAC, but I'd be curious to know what Zen masters or Tableau experts out there could reproduce something similar for different countries.
Thank you very much, David.
I think Ben might have another friend to talk to, so.
All right, that's right. Yeah, hey, thanks again, Jewel. Everyone, I got Chantilly Jaggernath here. She's a senior data analyst. She's with Comcast in Philly. She's a Tableau ambassador. She's an amazing Tableau public author. Chantilly, talk to us about what you're seeing. What do you think about what the contestants are creating so far?
Really loving the different chart types. I'm really enjoying the hex maps and then the annotations for the bubble, the decline, and the recovery, and seeing how each of the contestants are highlighting it differently in their own vizzes.
So some commonality to the kind of questions they're answering right now, right?
Correct, and they're all doing it in a different format, though. So that's the best part.
So you see some difference in layout and color choices and things like that, right?
I do.
Okay. All right, got time for one more?
Sure, go for it.
Okay, let's go talk to Eva Murray over here. Eva, Makeover Monday. All right, so Eva is Tableau evangelist at Exasol. And so she also runs Makeover Monday with Andy Kriebel. You may have heard of Andy. So you see dashboards that people make week in and week out, right? So Eva, what are your thoughts? What do you think as you take a look up there? What are some interesting challenges some of the contestants are tackling?
Well, aside from the data size, what I really like is the reflecting what the title says. So you've got the individual state stories and then a focus on states. you've got the housing market roller coaster, and there's kind of like a roller coaster going on. What's so funny?
We got an advertisement going on here. All right, great. Well, thanks for your thoughts on that, Eva. I think we just got punked or something, but wonderful thoughts, didn't we? Yeah.
Thank you, yeah.
Thanks, Ben.
Back to you.
Thanks, Ben. Can you believe we only have 3 minutes left? Can you feel the excitement? Are you ready to hear about these amazing Vizes? I can't wait. I'm very excited.
Now, I think that has just proven the point. Twitter is very, very important today. So that remember those hashtags, tweet for your favorite. Your tweets do count. The first one, as we've gone over that before.
Millie, Vizilli.
Gwilly Viz.
And Team Jacob, Viz.
So please remember to tweet, get those tweets in. They really do make all the difference to the final tally of points.
I'm so excited to see these final Vizes. Are you thinking about buying property anytime soon, Louis?
Well, you know, property, London, it's tricky. I'm not gonna lie. If Zillow want to expand internationally, maybe, Chris, you're gonna pop over to London, get some data for us? No comment there. That means it's probably going to happen.
Yeah.
If that were to happen, I would be very excited to take a look and have a look and see where might be the best place for me, you know, a millennial, as they say over here, to go and buy a house. I will have to cut down on the avocado on toast phenomenon. I know, Jewel.
I know. I'm in the hole on the avocado toast.
It's difficult. It's a bit of an addiction. I'm not going to lie. So saving on the avocado should get me a flat eventually. I don't.
I've heard. I believe there is a Viz by Tableau public champ David Murphy that can calculate how many avocado toasts we need to save.
Now, Jewel, time is short. Contestants, you have 90 seconds remaining.
It looks like Joshua's already done already. David, how are you and Josh doing? You finished?
We're doing great. We are just relaxing, sipping on water. If you notice our trend here, this line chart, when I look at it, the bubble, the decline, the recovery reminds me of our luck so far at roulette. Kind of, I was in a bubble, we declined, we're hoping for the recovery.
Awesome. 1 minute to spare. Well, I guess you weren't taking 3 minutes to process the maps, huh?
Now, please remember, audience, we are judging today's competition on 3 things: visual best practice, design, and strength of story. Now, our judges are judging on all of those different categories together. God help them, it's going to be so difficult when it comes to the final countdown. However, we will have a winner, and it will be remarkable when they win. Eternal glory, the money, the power,
the fame, the fortune.
And the autographs at Data Night Out, I've heard, it gets a bit tiring on the old wrist, so please be gentle after the first hour.
All right, we have 10 seconds left. 9, 8,
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And that's it! All right, nice down, contestants. Wow, the time really just flies, doesn't it?
My gosh, Jewel, that was absolutely 100% the most exciting thing I have ever seen.
Agreed. So let's give the contestants a second to take a breath and calm down while I remind you that you can still vote for a very short while for your pick of the contestants using the hashtags here.
Now, yes, we do know how you Americans do love and prioritize Twitter over all other forms of communication, especially for really important stuff, like voting on IronViz. Where did you think I was going with that one?
The modern world, Louis, it's a magical thing. Anyway, so they've had a moment to relax and shake it off. I think we're ready to hear from our first contestant. Joshua, please tell us about your Viz.
All right, thank you. So when I first got this data set, the very first visualization I created was that black national trend line there. And it popped out to me because I recognized that story. That's the story of the housing crisis. And it's a story that impacted all of us, whether you're here in the United States or even worldwide. But when I dug into the data, I saw that it wasn't just one story. There are many stories in this data set. So I created a dashboard to allow the user to explore those various stories, mostly at a state level to see state by state, but then even to get a taste of the fact that each city may have its own story. So I did use a hex map because that allows you to see each state equally. You don't have to worry about the size or Alaska or Hawaii throwing it out, but I did want Alaska and Hawaii to be part of it. And I made it obvious for the user that they can click an individual state and see how it compares to that average. So for example, I might look at a state like Illinois, and when I do that, I'll notice that that state goes right along that national line. But other states have dramatically different stories. For example, Nevada, the state that we're in. Look at that sharp increase in values, the sharp decrease. There has been a recovery, but it's nowhere near back to where it was. California is an interesting one to look at. I really wish that I had bought a house in Hawaii in 1998. As you look at this, you can see the trend line, but it draws you to the right-hand side, which gives you the latest snapshot for that selected state. And that allows you to see each city to know how it's doing, as well as some other vital statistics for that state that put things perhaps in a little bit more context.
Great work, Joshua. Thank you. Judges, do you have any questions for Joshua on this viz?
Yeah, I have one. Why did you decide to use absolute value versus change in the Zillow Home Value Index? Talk about building that hex map and how you decided the measure on that one.
Yeah, so I looked at the changes. I looked at various ways of displaying that data. But to me, looking at the actual values is something I can relate to. I know what I sold a house for. I know what I bought a house for. When I look at other states, it helps me to see how that compares to my experience.
Yeah, Josh, can you talk to me a little bit about why you decided to use automatic dashboard sizing?
Yeah, so I usually wouldn't ever do that, especially as I'm floating all of these objects and they shift around as you resize. But I knew that it was going to be shown up here on these monitors, and I wanted it to pop out to the entire size. So that's what I did.
Thank you.
Judges, any more for Joshua?
Why yellow to red?
Yeah, that's my question too.
Yeah, so I noticed on that monitor it's very yellow. On these monitors and mine, it's more of that gold to red, which is a much nicer one. So please judge me based on these other screens.
Okay.
It's a fair ask. Now, Tristan, well done on making it through a somewhat hectic 20 minutes there. We would love it if you would tell us a little bit about your viz.
So every data set has a story. And 10 years ago in France, it was something called la crise. People were losing jobs, banks were closing. And 10 years ago, I was 15 years old. So understanding the root of that crisis was not my main concern. Yeah. I was more focused on learning how to play guitar to impress girls, but that's another story. So here I am now, 10 years later, with a data set about house value in United States. And like I said, every data set has a story. So the Zillow data set can tell the story of the beginning of what happened in France 10 years later. So let me tell you that story. On the left, you can see the big picture. It helps you to enter into the viz. You have the three main events, the bubble, the crisis, and then the recovery. It really helps you to understand the context of the visualization. Then, on the middle, you have the story. That's the most important part. And if I start the world, the blue states are the state where houses are increasing in value, and the red states are the states where house value are increasing. Okay, so same goes with the bar. Blue bar means increasing, red bar means decreasing. And the first line, so let's start the world. You can see at the beginning it's quite normal. Some states are red, some are blue. Things are going pretty cool. Thanks. And now we are entering the bubble. During the bubble, you will see all the states are turning deep blue. You see 2005, the peak. All the bars are way to the right. All the states are really deep blue.
Yeah, really nice.
And now, take a close look. We are entering the crisis. You will see January 2006. Some states are turning red here. If I speed up a bit, you'll see all the states are turning red. All the bars are going to the left. That's the crisis. And if you look at 2010, that's the worst year during the crisis. All the states are really deep, dark red. So if I continue, we are going to enter into the recovery. Things are going to get better. States are turning blue again. Bars are going to the right. And here we are now, August 2017, the current state of the United States. The right part is for you. I've designed it for you to find stories, to find interesting facts about the data. So yesterday, during Devs on Stage, and it was awesome, I heard that Kent wants to buy a house in Seattle. So let's help him do that. So if you select a state and you look at Washington, the state of Washington, you can see in the first graph that, in general, the prices are higher than the rest of the United States. The rest is the all United States is the black lines. Then you'll see the impact of the crisis. Washington was deeply impacted by the crisis, and you can see that here. The last part is split by city. So you can see all the cities in Washington, and you have the black lines to show the US median. So Seattle is right here with 70K median house value, but you can aim for better than that. And let's look at Yarrow Point, $2.7 million in average. Do you want to buy a house here? Really easy. You click on a bar, you click on the link, and it opens Zillow website for you to buy a house.
Thank you so much, Tristan, for taking us through the story there. Judges, I'm sure you've got some questions. Elisa, let's start with you.
Awesome. A question, yes. Sorry, I'm just spellbound. There's a few places where you opted not to give us an x-axis in terms of describing the time. Was it choices like that? Did you choose that? No, you don't really need to know what that time is. You're knowing from the other stuff. I'm particularly talking about what about you? Was that a choice?
No, in fact, I shouldn't remove totally the axis of the year. I want just to remove months of date, keeping the year, and by mistake I click to hide the header. But yeah, it's months by months here. Here and here, it's months by months. Okay. And you have the tooltip everywhere to help you understand what it is.
Okay, good.
So I have a question. So in the middle part, the really cool set of bars, tell me a little bit about the calculation you used to get everything from percent to zero. I don't completely understand that.
In fact, it was inside Zillow data.
Oh, it's in the data itself?
I have the percentage of value increasing and the percentage of value decreasing. So I just used the Zillow data.
Oh, okay, it's really cool. You used it very well. So.
Thanks.
Ellie, any thoughts?
Yeah, I love how the animation really helps tell the story versus just add bling. And the middle is really the star here.
Yeah.
What it loses, perhaps, is the relative size of each housing market. Did you consider including that?
Like I said, it's not my home country. So honestly, there is surely a lot of things that I'm missing into the States. Like, for example, having the same size for each state, because some are small, some are big. It's something I'm not really used to do. But yeah, surely I'm missing something like the size of the market here. So,
Curtis, any comments?
Yeah, great work, Tristan. It looks great. I really like how you started on the left, just a big picture showing us the bubble and the recovery. Really easy to understand that. I did have a thought in regard to your color choice with the red and the blue. I mean, typically that might indicate a political scheme.
No, in fact, it's the French flag. So.
Okay, well, that's fair.
That was a great badge.
Yeah. No, kidding aside, great job. I really like the right-hand panel too, making it about the user, bringing the consumer into the visualization and helping it answer a question that they have to ask. So great job.
Tristan, thank you again.
Jacob, how are you doing?
Great.
Are you ready to tell us about your Viz?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
So growing up, I always have loved a great story. Stories can be both powerful and memorable. And so I wanted to find something that we can all learn from together today. Let me take you through a brief journey of what I discovered. As I looked deeper into the data, one central story started to stand out. And that story is this: the crash and the rise of the US housing market. And this is something, like we said, that we all experienced here in the States and worldwide. And so we can all resonate with this. So let me tell you a little bit about what I found. The first question I asked was, are homes increasing or decreasing in value across America? So I tried to show the whole landscape of America with this distribution. We have them bucketed by percent of homes increasing in value. So a city that has the majority of their homes increasing in value is going to be to the far right in that dark blue. A city is going to fall into a bucket to the far left in dark orange if it's decreasing in value. I wanted to follow that same theme and keep that color palette going through. So then the next question is, were different areas of America affected differently? I know that there were some areas that maybe the crash happened earlier than others, some that were hit more harshly than others. So I'm showing that same thing on a map. The dark blue is houses are increasing. Dark orange is the majority of your houses are decreasing. So next, I wanted to start to look at trends, city by city, to understand at a deeper level what was going on. And so I wanted to use the trends of increasing and decreasing values as mirror images of each other so that you can really highlight that point when they start to flip and that crash happens. So now here's where it really gets interesting. With a simple addition of the pages feature, like we just saw, we can really see this story come to life. So as we start, I want you guys to focus on the blue. We're back in 2000. We can see there's a lot of blue, meaning that there's a lot of houses that are increasing in value. The market's doing well. Let me speed it up. We can see 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, the market's booming. As we start to approach that crash in 2005 and 2006, we'll see some areas start to shift, and then this whole distribution is changing to the other side. So let me pause it right here. Notice now that that distribution is completely flipped. You can see that there's most places homes are decreasing in value. The map is all dark orange. Over here to the right, I thought that it's interesting to look at how some of these cities reacted differently to that crash. You can see places like Los Angeles and Seattle, they really crashed fast, but then recovered fast, whereas a city like Detroit had more of a slow crash and recovery. You can see up in Las Vegas, we're all or nothing. We're either 100% increasing almost or 100% decreasing. One other thing that I wanted to pick out was maybe a place in America that had something influencing its housing market besides the general trend. And so I was thinking about the oil boom out in North Dakota. And so I looked at a few cities out there. Let's go to Fargo. You can see that during the crash, it never quite crashed quite as much as all these other cities, but then as the economy starts booming, we can see the increasing values Perhaps with some of the environmental pressure on fracking industry, we can now start to see these housing prices declining steeply again in 2017. And I just showed you one of 15,000 stories that are packed within this visualization that I can't share with you all those right now, but after the conference, you guys can go in and look at all the cities and unpack those stories for yourself, because every city has its own story to it. So now let's watch my favorite part, which is the recovery. So I'll start this playing. You can see that the market stays down for about 4 years, from 2008 to 2012. We start to come out of it. We're unsure in 2015, maybe we're not going to recover, but then we can start to see 2016, 2017, we have fully recovered, and look at the map, it's all blue again. So Tableau just enabled me to tell a powerful story about the crash and rise of the US housing market. I hope you guys enjoyed it, so thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. Curtis, do you have any thoughts on Jacob's Viz or questions for him?
Yeah, great job, Jacob. Beautiful design, as usual. One question I have is the bottom right corner. Are those cities randomly chosen? Can you change them? I mean, how does that work for us?
So these cities are hard-coded in. They are some of the major metropolitan areas that I picked out that I thought had interesting stories along with them. So San Francisco, you can see, is pretty volatile throughout this crash. Places like Los Angeles started to crash a little bit sooner than the place like Seattle, which you can see in this. And then Atlanta, it likes to hang in the middle. It never quite goes one way or the other. So the real exploratory of the cities is up top.
Okay. I have to say, I was reminded of last year's conference with those line charts. They look a lot like the election probability from last year.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I wanted to ask about that. So why did you choose to essentially do the dual line? Because I think the story would have been stronger if you'd only had a single line.
Mm-hmm. So you can highlight a single line and see that, but what I thought was having them mirror images of each other really helped you see when it flips, and then I have that reference line at 50% so that you can see when they cross each other and when they start to crash.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily work for people who have colorblind issues. So I know you used probably our default, which is designed for colorblind people, but it does make it more difficult for a person who has the visual impairment issues.
Yeah. That is why I tried to stick with the orange and blue instead of green and red. Yeah.
Definitely, please, if you're doing this work, do orange amber. It's a much better color for people who are colorblind. But
yeah. And I actually am gonna go out on a limb and disagree with Jock on this one. I thought the feature of the not something I do very often. The thing is that
she does it all the time.
In data viz, when lines cross is often the most interesting points of data, and that was my favorite feature.
You can see the flip moments. I agree with that completely. So
intersections are really interesting things, and I like how this panel calls that out.
Yeah, no, the flip moment is very visible regardless of whether you're colorblind or not. You just can't necessarily know which way it flipped. So.
So you decided to go from sort of a bucketed view all the way to city. Did you do some analysis to say the biggest amount of change was really a city thing versus a state thing? Because with cities, it leaves the map a little empty, but that's how our cities are based. So was that something that you gave some active thought to?
It was, and so these the regions on here are called MSA. It's Metropolitan Statistical Areas. Yeah. The reason why I chose that instead of states was I thought that you can see little pockets of the different states easier, and then just in the way that the data was structured, it made the analysis of state by state not as accurate, I thought, as using MSA.
Mm-hmm. Cool, and I think I'm with Jock on, well, I mean, I do love the look of the lines. It's so cool looking.
Very beautiful, yeah.
It's so engaging that, for your point, I mean, I think you have a good point, but it is extremely engaging. So really wonderful job by you.
You balance it off against each other, right?
Yeah, it's really cool.
we really like symmetry, so from a sort of storytelling point of view, it pulls you in.
Yes,
But it
pulls you
makes
in.
it a little harder to read the data, I think. Yeah. So.
Well, thank you, judges. And thank you, Jacob. Great work. I think going to the MSA level was worth the processing speed, worth the speed. All right, let's give it up one more time for all three amazing Vizes.
Now, any last stragglers who need to get their Twitter votes in, better do it sharpish. We are closing the polls now. No, you've got 1 more minute. However, we are closing the polls very, very shortly. If you haven't used your vote, please do. Remember, one vote per person. Don't vote twice. We won't count the second one.
Wait, so if I vote and then I vote again?
No, Jewel, no, we've been through
What if I
this
vote a third time?
many times now. First vote is the one that counts.
So the judges will now tabulate their scores. And remember, there's 30 possible points awarded in the categories of Viz Best Practices, Visual Design, and Strength of Story.
And to whomever received the most tweets in their favor shall be awarded a further 10 points.
So while we wait for our judges to deliberate, David, why don't you tell me why Joshua deserves to win?
I think it's not a matter of why he deserves to win, but when he wins. For those who have not been able to go to the data games area of Tableau Conference, you should know that that was entirely built, 4 dashboards built by Josh himself. In fact, as we were preparing for this competition, a gentleman named Josh Preston from Georgia Tech, are you here? There he is, came up to us and basically, like a celebrity sighting, took a photo with Josh. We had to stop our entire practice just to take a picture. And I was blown away by just how much of an impact Josh has had on the community here. The visualization itself, I think it satisfies one of the most basic elements of visualization, which is something I learned from one of Josh's peers, Steve Wexler, at a presentation in DC. He said, the impact of a visualization is only as good as it is relevant to the person who views it. And not only that, but how intuitive is it to use? And how much does it make you want to interact with it? And I still carry that with me today. And when Josh showed me what he was going to build, I thought it totally fit that bill. Because it instructs the user to click. It immediately allows you to go down to the 6-foot level of your home or your city. And I'm thrilled to celebrate with you when we win.
Now, Jade, what makes Tristan le meilleur choix, the ultimate choice, for Iron Viz champion here today?
Well, my candidate is really la crème de la crème. Look at him. He's young, he's smart, he's handsome. And given a data set that he knew nothing about, he was able to create a very simple story that everyone can understand. Even a primary school kid would be able to understand the housing bubble and the crisis with this. And I think that's what the judges were after. They really wanted something clear, simple, with best practices, and we have everything in this visualization.
So KJ, why do you think Jacob's Viz deserves to reign supreme?
So Jacob definitely deserves to win because have you seen his Viz? I mean, it looks simple, beautiful, and there's a story to it. And of course, he also lives and breathes Tableau, right? So in terms of why, in terms of technique specifically, we really wanted to focus on pure power of Tableau. So less tricks, more pure Tableau, and I feel like with that, it proves that he is the winner of tonight.
Thank you, KJ. All right, I think we still need a little bit more time to get the scores in order. So I want to know what y'all think. So if you think that Joshua Milligan should be our champion, make some noise. All right. What about Tristan? Now, if you want to howl for Team Jacob, I am totally okay with that. So let's hear it.
Jewel, I'm not sure I heard them in the back. People in the back, give us a shout. Took you a little while, but it's fine. Right. How are we doing down there with the scores? I think we're still tabulating. Ben, I wonder if you might be able to just give us a little bit more. Maybe we'll jump in and ask Steve what he thought of what was going on the stage
Absolutely.
today.
Yeah, you bet, Louis. Hey,
Thank
I got
you.
Steve Wexler here. So, Steve, Steve, you were the first winner of the very first Iron Viz contest. Is that right, or was it the second?
The very first, that was in 1957.
Is that right? Okay, yeah. All right. So, Steve, talk to us a little bit. So, who would you pick as the winner and why?
Oh, this is no. This is the best thing.
Yes.
No. This is, it is so much better to be here, down here, than up there. And the smartest thing I did besides marrying my wife was competing in this 6 years ago when it was much easier. So, and absolutely incredible work. And then, yeah, thrilled to be here, but trust me, it's much better down here.
Okay, great, Steve. I got one more. I got a couple more here. So, Matt, come on up here. So I got Matt Chambers. He's at Clemson University. So Matt, a.k.a. Sir Viz-a-lot, you also competed in an Iron Viz contest a couple years back. So talk to us a little bit about what you saw and, what are your thoughts about what people created here?
I thought it was really cool that Josh brought in the hex maps. It was really cool to see that in Iron Viz. And then the animation that they added in was really awesome for the other two. So it's impossible for me to pick one. I can't pick.
I know, tough job for the judges, which is also how it is for the feeder contests. The three people up here are amazing, and there were so many submissions as well throughout the year that we were just blown away by as a team that judged all the feeder contests. So thanks for your thoughts on that, Matt. And hey, I got one more.
All right.
Jewel and Louis. Okay, so Heidi Haupt, come on. This is a 10-time Tableau Conference attendee right here. So Heidi, from Experian Automotive in Chicago, you've seen every one of these Viz competitions, and so share some thoughts with us for us today.
As I get older, Tableau gets faster. Every year, the new Vizes, the new functionality, and the way these guys use it and explore the data blows me away every year. I won't tell you who my favorite is, but I may have howled. I may have wanted a little creme de la creme. But yeah, every year, these guys blow me away. Every year there's something new.
Great stuff. Okay, thanks, Heidi. Jewel, Louis, back to you.
Great, thank you, Ben.
Audience, the scores are in. We have the golden envelope.
Are you ready? You don't sound like super ready. All right. And the winner is...
La La Land.
Actually, it's Tristan Goulavin. Congratulations. Preston, congratulations. How are you feeling? Do you have anything to say to this audience tonight?
Yeah, I just want to finish the story about me learning the guitar. So it's because it's been 7 years now that it works, and I am with Laura, and she's very supportive, and I want to thank her tonight. She's watching me from France, and it's why 2 a.m. in the morning, so thanks her, and thanks everyone.
Tristan, and bravo to all of our contestants today. You were all spectacular. And joining us today and helping to crown our latest Iron Viz champion. We will see you at Data Night Out. Come talk to your favorite champ, ask them all your Viz questions. I'm Jewel Ray.
And I'm Louis Archer. You stay classy, Data 17.
Good night.